Hello everyone and welcome back to another Wizard101 video. Today, I decided that it was time that I finally do a video that I've been recommended a lot of times. And by a lot of times, I mean a lot of times. And I've kind of not wanted to do this video because I feel like the answer is fairly obvious and a lot of people kind of know. But it's something that, I at least want to touch up on. And, for all the people that are asking this, I can finally say, go watch this video because this is the video to watch. And that is pets, what pet body you should use, kind of what talents should be on the pet, and stuff like that. Now, I'm not going to go into pet training and like all the ways to actually get up a pet and like optimum strategies and all that. There are so many other videos on that, and I would definitely recommend going watching any of the other ones. This is a bare bones what pet body you should have, and realistically like what pet you should use in PvE. So again, caveats. This is for PvE. Second, this isn't going into the optimum pet training strategies, and I'm not going to go into those. So if you want a better video on that, go look it up. I'm pretty sure Ferric might have one, I believe. Could be wrong. Like, just look up pet copying. Now, why did I want to make this video now is because it's double pet XP, and usually when it's double pet XP, I like doing a pet related kind of video because, now is the time. Now is the time to train up a new pet and get that perfect pet that you've been wanting. So without further ado, let's get into the actual video itself. So to start off, I want to go over something that I think is pretty important to mention, and that is school pets. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning this is because you see a lot of newer and kind of less experienced players using these school pets, and specifically I mean the ones from like level 48 to level 98. If you don't know, you get school pets, I believe at 48, 58, 78, 98, and 118. I believe those are the numbers, correct me if I'm wrong, but you get school pets then. I see a lot of people using the kind of basic ones because they don't really know better and they don't know what pet body to use. I just wanted to preface this by saying two things. One, they aren't good in terms of the actual item cards they give. Most of them give pretty bad item cards. One of the most important and vital things a pet can give you is a good item card, so you want to make sure you have a pet that gives one of those. So that is the first thing. The second thing is that a lot of those pets have a lot of bad talents and tend to be a little bit stickier in quotes than most other pets. I'm not, again, the biggest pet training fanatic. I don't know that much about pet copying, pet bodies, stickiness, all that, but I can tell you that it is a lot harder to train up some of those pets to have good talents than some of the newer pets. Especially things like mana gift and accuracy tend to be extremely common in those older pets and tend to need a lot of breeding to get out of them. So I would highly recommend not actually going for any of those. That goes for the hybrids as well. But with that out of the way, let's go into what pet body you should use and also into some of the talents. So the most important part of a pet body and any pet body is the item card. Now, I mentioned that a little bit earlier, but the main reason why this is so useful is an item card can really give you some extra bonuses in a battle. For example, the most common one you see in PvE, and the one I personally recommend, would be a pet that gives you a blade. The reason why is that you can do blade stacking, and if you get a pet with a blade on an earlier wizard, you can do blade stacking way earlier than normal. Like, I've had a pet with a blade on my myth since probably like level 5, and that's allowed him to blade stack for a very long time, and it's just a very useful thing to have, especially when going against certain bosses. That's what I recommend, but there's other things as well that you could potentially want. But two specifically that I would very much recommend would specifically be for death and life, the Gloomy Eye pet and the Kookaburra pet. The reason for that is that the Gloomy Eye, you can see, gives this death version of Humongo Frog, and the life gives a Leaf Storm pet. The reason why those are so important, and perhaps like more important than anything, is the fact that life and death don't get that 4-pip AoE until way later, and having that on top of the blade is just really, really solid and really good to have. So I would highly recommend, if you are life or death, getting those. Now, as for other pets, again, I would recommend something with a blade. Specifically, the 118 pets tend to work really well, whether it be a hybrid of them or just something like that. Right now, I have the Gulcher pet on my myth, but before I had a myth eyeball pet, both equally as good, give some good things and some good item cards. But you may be asking, what else could I potentially want? Really, I would just look for something that is potentially useful in battle. Something that, you know, comes in handy, like, say, a blade, or maybe even a mass trap. Something like that that would come in handy that is useful. Now, as for the last pet body that I would recommend, and one that is going to be for only specific types of wizards, is the ones in the Primeval Horde pack. Now, if you don't know, in these packs, one of the best ways and most common ways to get up to the maximum damage nowadays is from the Fossil Hunter and Fossil Avenger set bonus. There's another set as well, don't know its name, but basically you need 2 of the gears to actually get it. The most common way to do this is to have a Frillosaur pet. Now, this, again, I don't know how much I would recommend you spending to actually get, but it could potentially be worth it, especially on a fire where the Fossil Avenger set gives you like 11 damage or something like that, which is really crazy with the 2 sets. You might want that pet, and then you definitely want that wand. You can see here I have the wand on my myth, but I have the mount instead because I just am too lazy to train up a Frillosaur pet. But that is the main thing for pet bodies and the main thing that I would recommend for PvE. Now, what I would say specifically for PvE is it doesn't really matter. These pet bodies are just mainly there, just kind of for show in a lot of cases. Like in PvP, they're much more important and there's much more important item cards than in PvE. Like, it's not a life or death situation if you don't have that extra blade or not, and I would recommend just finding a pet that you like. I personally just like the level 118 pets that give a blade anyway, so I'm content with them. But you may like some other pets that look, you know, different or look interesting or cute, and that's fine. You can use those. You don't need to actually use any specific pet body. These are just the ones I would highly recommend. Now let's get into the final section of this video, which is pet talents and what pet talents I'd recommend for PvE. Now, if you don't know, I would say that there is 2 main roads that you can go down for PvE in terms of talents. There is a quint damage pet, which is when you get your school's dealer, 2 givers, and then 2 boons. And what this will do is it will give you like 35 or so extra damage. You put a mighty jewel on it, and it's just really, really solid. That is one way to go. The second way to go is a triple double pet. This would be a dealer, 2 givers, and then spellproof and spell defying. Those are the most common talents on pets in PvE, and a lot of people will tell you one way or the other. You should go for this or you should go for this. I would say right now the most common thing in meta and the most common opinion is a quint damage pet, and definitely that's something that could potentially be worth going for. But what would I recommend? Well, personally, it does depend on your school. I would definitely highly recommend on, say, Fire or Storm, going for that quint damage pet. Having 5 damage talents is just really, really solid, and it does go a long way in terms of getting you up to max damage, and I would really highly recommend it, to be honest. Same goes for maybe Myth. Myth could also do with it. In terms of the other schools, however, say Death, Life, Balance, or Ice, I would definitely highly recommend going for a triple double, especially Ice, Balance, and Life. Definitely want that resist more, and they want that higher extra 15 resist on their pets. This is what I would recommend most definitely, and how I would recommend going for it. So just to give you an example real quick, since it's double pet XP and I do need a better pet on my myth because my myth's pet keeps failing, I'll show you exactly how I actually do it. So what I would recommend doing is typing in your school and getting dealer and giver, or if you're a school who wants a triple double, you might actually type in spellproof and then maybe your school's dealer just for one, and then you cycle through and you find that pet that you want. So like right here, this is a quint talent pet. You hatch, it's no longer available. This is probably the most painful part, to be completely honest, of actually finding a pet, is the fact that usually pets are not available. I have no idea, KingsIsle, why you made this hatching kiosk and made it so that pets are never available. It really bothers me, and it doesn't make sense. Like, why is it even showing up here if it's not available? That doesn't make sense. Please stop, KingsIsle. Please help me. Okay, so it took me a long time, and I'll be completely honest, I didn't even want to get this pet. I got the pet that I didn't want. I wanted the other pet. Well, nothing you can do. So basically, that's how I would recommend going for it, and it does take a long time. That took me a solid like minute and a half to find the pet that I was looking for. I still, again, don't know why, King's Isle, that you decide to do this. So real quick, just to end off this video, cap it off, let's see what this pet gets. Started off with Myth Giver, so, you know, it's starting off well. And it got spell defying, so it's not awful, could be better. In fact, it could be very much better. It's not really that good compared to my other pet so far. It depends on what talents it would get as it goes on. I would probably recommend hatching again. But that's really it for today. I hope that this is finally what you wanted. People keep asking me in the comments, and I've gotten this suggestion so many times from my Discord server as well. What pet would you recommend for PvE? And that's the answer. I would just recommend the level 118 pets, and I'd recommend going for a triple double on most wizards, potentially a quint if you are a more damage type role. But that's it for today. Thank you all for watching. I will see you in the next video. Adios.